Reading from the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta. Okay, we'll do 218. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sadaika-rūpo pisa viṣṇur ātmanas tathā sva-bhakter janayaty anu-kṣaṇam vicitra-mādhurya-śataṁ navaṁ tayā sva-śaktyetara-durvitarkyayā. Although Lord Viṣṇu is always one and unchanging, at every moment he brings forth hundreds of newer and newer varieties of transcendental charm, both in himself and in his devotional service. He does this by his personal energy, inconceivable to everything else. Purport. Text 218 through 120 establish beyond a doubt that although the Supreme Lord, as the personal embodiment of the Absolute Truth, is unchanging in his Satchidananda existence, he and his activities and his devotees and theirs are full of variety that is real, not created by illusion. Non-devotees can never discover this sublime truth by conjecture. They can never understand the Lord's pastimes with his devotees. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chaksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Sapadantikam Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Shindu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So greetings from Vrindavan. I've for these 2 or 3 days I've returned to Vrindavan, and on Monday, for visa reasons, I'll go out for a week to Thailand. Bhakta David is sponsoring the whole thing for me, and I have one aspiring disciple in a city called Phuket who will cook for us. And I'm pretty excited about our retreats coming up. I just saw just the list alone. The Puri thing, just filled up. And I just saw the list for Govardhan and Vrindavan Govardhan. We have a great group coming. And I was at Mahabhav Dham the other day. I go there regularly. This person and myself have this very deep relationship. And he has an extraordinary samskara to love Vaishnavas. And being able to see their inspired side. I love that by Bhakti Rakshaka Sridhar Maharaj said we should judge Vaishnavas not by their ordinary dealings. Of course, that's within some kind of parameters, not within their ordinary dealings, but their inspired side. So he has, these 150 deities, handcrafted, beautiful. Even some have complete pastimes, like he has Nrsimha Brahmachari with the famous road, and Ayendra with his harmonium and different things. Ayendra Prabhu. But he has this beautiful vision of unity with complete faith in Prabhupada that this is a waves of Gaur Leela. So, Prabhupada and his mission is 1/3 of it. And it keeps on expanding. And so he has this vision and this real faith that this is also part of the Leela of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And I had one godbrother, Parthasarthi Goswami, who this is my place in Vrindavan, but I let anybody use it because I'm in Govardhan now. Not anybody, but it's Parthasarthi Goswami. He just feels like the devotees taking birth. I always say, if you looked at Lord Krishna appears once in a day of Lord Brahma, which is 1,000 times 4,320,000 times 2 times 1,000 times 360. And if you figure out when Krishna appears, it's about 11:38. And in that same minute, we appear right after that. So he really, Parthasarthi, he really has a feeling that these devotees and now too, who have come to serve Srila Prabhupada and his mission, it's part of Gaur Leela. It's not an ordinary thing. And this devotee fully realizes it. And he's so nice and really has so much love for me that he takes his family down south to get out of the winter. But he's coming back so that the people that attend my retreat, because he generally comes back later, can actually see Mahabhavdham with all the devotees and meet him, which is such a treat. Vaishnava, Prabhupada said Vaishnava is not an ordinary thing. That has love and respect for Vaishnavas, is free from that propensity to criticize others on the basis of false ego, to put down, we want power. We're born in this material world for power, and that's what our beauty, our education can be, the motive can be, and our wealth or whatever it is. And we want it to control, because controlling is connected with enjoying. Because enjoying means putting things before your senses, and sometimes you need power to do that. So Vaishnava and criticism and putting people down is a matter of power. Not admitting that we're wrong is a matter of power. And when Vaishnavas are free from that, the propensity, that envy, Ichadvesha samutena dvandva mohena, but we're born into this world overcome with the dualities of desire and hate. When you see Vaishnavas that are free from that don't see the fault as the whole person, and the fault may not even be gross, it may be a personality, how we're all struggling in our different ways. But here's the thing that's very, very beautiful. The other day I get a message from him that the Mahant of Radha Kund is coming to see Mahadam, which is an extraordinary thing, because he lives in Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta in a 2-story cottage, the Mahant of Radha Kund. And they say he's 113 years old. He's up there for sure. And particularly they're not known for having the highest regard for the Hare Krishna movement, because we seem like we're just regulative principles and Vaidhi Bhakti, etc. So, but somehow this devotee, he has a way of bringing these great Mahants, these Vaishnavas, And so he greets him properly, it's all flowers, and he's able to walk up the stairs, and then he sits down. And then he's speaking in Bengali, and he has a translator. And then out of nowhere, without prompt, he sees this Mahabhav Dham with all these Vaishnavas, including Vaishnavas from Radhakund, all the Parikas of Lord Chaitanya, Radha and Krishna, the Astika Sakhis, the 6 Goswamis, the first wave, the second wave of Vaishnavas, Vishwanath, Narahari Sakar, Narottam Das Thakur, and then the next wave, Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta, Vamsi Das Babaji, and then the next wave, Srila Prabhupada's disciples, and the grand disciples, because there's some that he has there too, that are exalted. And then out of nowhere, this Mahant says, we have been preached to by the mercy of so many acharyas, but Prabhupada has preached to the world. We have to learn this seva of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Radhakund. And then I don't know what he said the next thing. He said, and Bengali disciples have no Guru Nishta. But, so anyway, those on the tour, we're going to get a chance to go there. And also one day we'll go to Rup Seva Kunj. I went there the other day, showing 2 people, and these coutiers with the 6, each one has one of the 6 Goswamis, so beautifully crafted. Sometimes the deity, you have to put some imagination. It's kind of stylistic. You have to have some bhav. But this it's just, they're as well done as the Prabhupada murtis have been done around the world, but for the 6 Goswamis. So we'll also go there, so I'm excited. Now, let's see, this is a very dense philosophical section. Every time I begin it, where it begins, Gop Kumar, actually, I took some notes here. Gop Kumar and the qualities of him as he's going through this incredible journey through the universe. Lobha, exclusive devotion, the fundamental driving force of our devotion is our relationship with Krishna. Come in. And his faith and power and mantra. These are, he is giving the guidebook on practice and providing the relatable and emotionally resonant. I took notes. The inspiring, it nourishes the practitioner's faith and shows his faith and power and mantra, his adherence to his instructions of his guru, his innocence, his simplicity in thinking and living. So we're kind of following him, and somehow he becomes Lord Brahma, and that's a whole incredible story. But 4 things when he becomes Lord Brahma, he's not attached to the position, because he has Vishya-vini Vartante Niraharasya Dayana. He has this higher taste of this internal desire, this love of Krishna, and see, he's not attached, but it's not his favorite thing to do, and it's kind of a disturbance to manage, and always lingering over even Lord Brahma, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Prana Avatanojana, It's temporary, so there's always that duality of fear. And then taking shelter of the mantra to relieve himself of this fear, then there becomes a separation from Bṛhad. I think I repeated this the last 4 classes, but this is the way I'm getting going. And then somehow or other, when you go deeply into your heart, looking for the root of your dissatisfaction, then the transcendental system, the super soul, hears the voice of your heart, wanting the truth, to relieve yourself from the anxiety that you're in. And through that transcendental system, because the Paramatma is connected everywhere, the external circumstances come to speak to you, either in the form of a person, or in terms, or if you're hard of hearing, in terms of an experience, a circumstance, a karmic circumstance that teaches you exactly the lesson you need to know. Anyway, circumstance have it, and then circumstance have it that the sages are talking about mukti. He doesn't know what mukti is. He never heard of liberation, but he becomes interested because of this other quality. He is seeking. This is his goal. He's persistent on it. Until I become completely satiated or satisfied, until I find what I'm looking, this will be my drive in life. So because he hasn't yet fully found that, he's experienced something. Wow, mukti. And then the sages, and there's 2 concepts of mukti. One is gyan. The fluctuations of the mind, stop them. Maybe by meditation, you focus on one thing. The other thoughts become quelled, and you morph into a higher level of perception and contentment, until you begin to see clearly the distinction between the self and everything else. And progressively, by intellectual prowess, by jnanic analysis, you start eliminating everything external to the self. There's a visceral example of this just when the Pandavas retire early in the Bhagavatam. And as Kshatriyas, they have all these upadis. Upadis means material designations, external to the soul, based on this karmic situation we're in. So the first thing is they take off, he takes off his uniform, rips off his medals, breaks his sword, and then walks to the north until he, just by the austerity alone, drops everything external to the self. And finally, the last covering, the subtle element of the false ego, gets amalgamated into the Mahatattva, whatever kind of, you can understand that. So this is kind of a liberation. Muktir, hitva, yata, you give up what's external, sarupena vivasta, and you become situated. So one way is jnanic, just get rid of it. The other way is devotional, engage it, engage the soul. One is you rip off everything external and you're left with the soul. The other one is you begin with the soul and you engage the soul. Sarvapadi vanir muktam tatparatvaina nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakta. This is called bhakti, when the save of the senses are engaged in devotional service. So these 2 types of liberation in the bhakti shastras win. And it's a very, very, which we're not getting into in depth, unless I gave it every day, a very, very elaborate exposition on the superiority of bhakti. I'm just going to go back. Even Gyan, and it talks about happiness. It starts to analyze happiness. The happiness of Gyan is paltry. It's nothing compared to bhakti. Even the results of dharma, the purity of the heart, is nothing according to bhakti. And it's great if you're a jnani and you become detached and you come to bhakti because you're not coming in a business way because you're already detached from the world. But only bhakti will bring you to bhakti. And this concept that the senses distract you from the soul, in bhakti they're imbued with devotion. They're imbued, because what is the soul? The soul is consciousness which reaches its fruition in love. So you engage the soul, you engage the senses in love, the mind in love, and it says it's even more powerful. Anyway, it deals with all these different subtleties. I'm not even going to go into them right now, but we'll get to the verse today. And here's the point, because he's making verse after verse that this dynamicism of engaging the senses, extraordinary happiness, in contrast to impersonal liberation, it's made of intense sweetness of sporting pastimes. He goes on and on, he's explaining, it's much greater than liberation. And now he's just going to deal with this particular point. And I think we'll cover those verses that why there's an impersonal conception is because they believe that the absolute must be unchanging. It's absolute. How can it go beyond itself? And therefore, any change that we see must be an illusion, or at best, a distraction. But here it says, although he's one and changing, at every moment he brings forth newer and newer varieties of transcendental charm, both in himself and his devotional service. He does this by his personal energy, inconceivable to everything else. So I kind of feel I'm repeating myself a bit, so I'm going to try to go a little faster to cover more verses. This basic concept, I repeated it before, but these verses are repeating the same point. But the basic point is that that these the basic point is the Lord has inconceivable potency. And that if you put this kind of formula that God must be unchanging, and therefore any changes in it must be illusion, it's just relegating the absolute truth, which is transcendental to the material reality, under the material reality of laws of logic, of cause and effect. I'm not speaking, so anyway, we'll read on, maybe it'll become clearer. This manifold charm, sweeter than the sweetest, is found in Sri Viṣṇu's supremacy as Para-Brahman and his lordship of all that be. His charm displays the very limit of his most excellent compassion towards his devotees. For them, his charm lifts to the highest stage their experience of deep oceans of sweet ecstasy, ecstasy that ridicules the pleasure derived from realization of impersonal Brahman. The fourth quality of pure devotional service is moksha laguda krit. Lagu means small, krita means to do. It makes moksha look insignificant. And therefore, Rupa Goswami says that if you multiply the happiness of Brahman realization, you can't compare material pleasure to Brahman realization. You multiply the happiness of Brahman realization by the number affinity. It doesn't even equal the drop of the ocean of the nectar of devotion. I've spoke on this before. I feel I'm repeating myself. And the same point comes up, is that the definition of God is that he can do anything. And he has inconceivable potencies. So he can do anything. So why can't his pleasure increase unlimitedly? I think, let me see if I can find, I found one nice quote, but I'm not sure where it is. Yeah. This is from some verse, but it's very interesting. The highest degree indicates greatness that has reached its ultimate peak. So that must be God. But in fact, that endless happiness has no limit. Because it has a limit, then there can be something greater than it. So even though it's the highest degree, so we have this conception that both God must have the highest pleasure, and that pleasure can always increase. And how can that be possible? Because God is beyond time, and therefore every event is eternal. Purport: the glories of devotional service are difficult to describe without straining the capacity of words. The phrase parakashta, the highest degree, implies that no higher degree exists. But the happiness of pure devotional service never reaches a final peak. It keeps on increasing forever. Calling it the parakashta of happiness is only a poetic attempt to do it justice with words available in the human language. So you can only say the highest degree, but that can always increase. Okay, I'm going to just read on, because I covered these. And the Lord expands abundant variety to enrich his devotees forever with the enjoyment in these exuberant waves of sweet ecstasy. And just as, even though he is devoid of every kind of material quality, there is a firm and constant variety in him. So in his devotees, there is a strong and varied and wonderful experience in all the function of the senses. Okay, this is where we should actually start. May Krishna protect you. So the Bhakti Shastris are saying to Gop Kumar, his opulent power, God's, is eternal. Eternal are his infinite varieties, and his beauty and his worship and his companionship with his servants. He is the personal form of the eternal absolute, the one without a second, who lives in the eternal world. In response to Gop Kumar's inquiry, the Bhakti Shastras have described the glories of the personality of Godhead's devotional service. They now conclude their instructions by ecstatically offering Gop Kumar their blessings. Blessings are very important, actually. And my ashram mate, Sabyasachi, he gave me a very beautiful saying, because we started this fund to help devotees. And he just made a beautiful point. He said, if you can show mercy to a devotee and make them happy, their happiness includes powerful blessings. Because it's very interesting, God loves his devotees and wants to serve his devotees. But the devotees don't want to accept service from God. Just like a relationship with Prabhupada, we would be horrified if Prabhupada wanted to serve us. If Prabhupada, cleaned our room, if Prabhupada cooked although he did that. So it's kind of something that it's hard for Krishna to do. So, but we can serve the devotees, and therefore fulfill Krishna's desire to serve his devotees, and that invokes his blessings. In this very gentle, supreme nectar of devotional service, the intelligent find no use for harsh and thorn-like logic. You'll have to excuse me because I've read these verses before, so I will definitely mark down the numbers so I start at the right place. Still, we have spoken this discourse to induce those who are attached to impersonal liberation to begin devotional service, and we have spoken to give pleasure to the neophyte devotees of the Lord. So, yeah, this is such an important point. In Narada Bhakti Sutras, it says a Vaishnava doesn't like to argue. Vaishnava doesn't like to argue because it's mostly based on false ego, on desire to control or not be controlled or get superiority. That's the material condition. So Vaishnava doesn't have a propensity for that. And therefore, even explaining this, they don't like. But he said, we don't like to explain this. We don't like to argue. But sometimes there's a necessity for it. And the necessity is, one, those who are attached to impersonal liberation, they're very much on the Jnanic platform. And because they're on the Jnanic platform, you can only create their faith on the Jnanic platform before they even get an experience of devotion, because they won't even be inclined for chanting and hearing, just like in Satya Yuga. This question came, and it was mentioned in the Bhakti Sandarbha, that in Satya Yuga, they were into meditation, and they weren't into kirtan. So you ask, if kirtan is such an easy process, why didn't they take to that process? Because they couldn't understand something so easy as spiritual. And you can see that if someone's a great jnani, and all his life he's practicing like this, neglecting activities, and developing even a little pride in his austerities, they will not appreciate people in a kirtan. They'll just think this material activity, they're sentimental. Just like when Lord Chaitanya went, he was in Varanasi, and he went to the assembly of the Mayavadis, Prakasananda Saraswati. They were concerned for him because he was doing this emotional activity that doesn't look spiritual to them. They had to cultivate their austerities, their jnanic study, the Vedanta. So, and Lord and when Prakasananda Saraswati came to Lord Chaitanya said, I had the same doubt, but I went to my guru. And I told him that I've lost control. I'm a sannyasi. I'm just chanting in ecstasy, crying. I'm so emotional. And then Ishvara Puri said, now I'll tell you a verse that's the essence of the Shastra. In this way, without attachment, without inhibition, chanting the name of your beloved Lord, Chaitanya, from that comes so much emotion. So they're not into it. So you have to speak to them in a very jnanic, philosophical way. And also for the neophytes, whose faith is weak, but this intellectual discourse, organic thoughts, if it has to be done, one does it. But the devotee just wants to hear about Krishna and his pastimes and his activities. If you have indeed realized the pettiness of liberation and want to attain the treasure of firm faith and devotional service, then simply worship your transcendental mantra and please hear this great secret, which is pleasing to the heart. Purport: with the help of the Bhakti Shastras, Gopkumar, like many before him, has now realized the insignificance of impersonal liberation. He is now ready to dedicate himself exclusively to pure devotional service and has set his goal the highest ideals of bhakti. For this purpose, the Bhakti Shastras advise that he need only continue serving the mantra given to him by his exalted spiritual master. That mantra will surely fulfill whatever desires he may have, including the desires for pure devotion. It may be true that the words and conduct of great spiritual persons should be accepted as authoritative, but without direct experience, one will be unable to realize the truth that great souls represent. Without first developing tathā gyan, scientific knowledge, one cannot acquire this experience. Nor without tathā gyan can one who aspires for prema bhakti gain the strength to give up the inferior attachments. Therefore, Gopkumar should faithfully chant his mantra so that first he may achieve liberation and then reach the final perfection. As the Bhakti Shastra is about to reveal, the liberation Gopkumar achieves will be personal, thus he should not be repelled by the word moksha. Anyway, I'm very honest, I don't feel I'm so... I had a good strategy today for the class. So let's stop and just any questions on anything that anyone wants to ask.
Hey, Krishna,
yeah, what's up?
not a question, just some great reflections. I love when you said about when you go deeply into the source of your dissatisfaction, then the super soul hears you and then sends the external teacher to you. And I was just reading again, some things about Narada Muni speaking to Vyasadeva, and he was so dissatisfied, and his teacher comes and finds that dissatisfaction.
Yeah, that was such a point, that pain and dissatisfaction is a symptom that something is wrong. And it's a symptom that something is wrong. And so the story of Narada Muni is a great example, because he did so much service. Mm-hmm. He took the 4 Vedas, he divided them. He took the 1 Veda, divided them into 4, because his Vyas means I have realization, and because I have realization, I want to communicate. I made this point so many times, and what communication means is you understand the language of your audience, mm-hmm. and then you have to speak that language, even if you heard it in a different way. And that takes a lot of realization. So that's his job. So he divided the Vedas in 4. That's one way of making things clear. Kind of, you divide it into parts that are like I described, like a mother wants to give a child a chapati. She has to rip it into little pots for digestion. Mm-hmm. He felt they still weren't getting it. Then he thought, I'll illustrate it in story form. He wrote the whole Mahabharata, put the Bhagavad Gita in the middle. He felt people still were, he still wasn't satisfied. He codified it in terms of the Vedanta Sutra, which is another way of understanding things, and he still wasn't satisfied. And then he went into his heart and he just said, what is wrong? And that question of what is wrong in the heart,
Mhm.
and being brave enough to petition the truth, and
Mm.
that's very brave. That's called surrender. Surrender means I want the truth. I want the truth no matter what it means. Because the truth may mean that the things I'm attached to, some of the things I should attach to, I shouldn't have, I should give up. And some of the things I don't like, I should accept. And when you have that depth of sincerity in your heart, then Krishna makes the arrangement. Yeah, so that was the point I was making. Thank you, Gail. Jaya. Gail, do you have any questions to impel this further?
No, just a vocabulary question. Mahant.
Yeah.
What is the
Mahant,
Mahant?
Mahant means like the leader. The head of a spiritual organization is called the Mahant.
You said that person was the Mahant of Radha Kund.
Yes, there's a leader of Radha Kund. There's so many different groups and ashrams, but they have one acharya in Radha Kund. So this person was the Mahant. I think they have one or two. There's another one that came there too.
But it almost seems like, I don't know, I mean, oxymoron is too strong, but for such a, I mean, Radha Kund is Radharani herself, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
to say that there is a head of such a holy place.
No, but the consciousness of head doesn't have to be controller. It could be the servant. In other words, you can take a position of leadership in Krishna consciousness, but the mood would be as a service. It means you're still looking up as the servant of your guru. It's like this: if one becomes a guru, his vision shouldn't be down on his disciples. His vision should be up in terms of his guru, and as a service to his guru, he does that, and
Yeah,
it can
so
be
what,
very, very humbling. So
so
there's
what
no
would
problem with being the head of Radha Kund, the head servant, the Sevite.
the head servant of Radha Kund?
Yeah, not of Radha Kund, but of the devotees there and the different mutts and there's always in Vedic culture there's always something hierarchical. That knowledge is coming down. It's not ascending. So there's always some person who represents that. And this person
Right.
is, go ahead, you just say, go
Sorry, I
ahead.
didn't mean to hear my obeisances. May I just add, in today's, for Gail, in today's world, they call it servant leader, at least in principle. They may not have that in their heart, but it's in principle.
They
Same
call that where? Servant leader.
corporate, business, leadership, mentors. It's been going on for a couple of decades for sure.
They
Peter
they they
Burwash,
try to
Peter Burwash
they
spoke
try
on
to
that.
they try to they try to temper the ego that can come
Exactly.
with leadership and ruin everything. Yeah, so maybe even in the corporate world they realize, um, yeah,
Yeah. That was what Peter Burwash spoke on years ago,
hmm,
quite a bit.
he
Can I
was
ask a
he
question
was
about
yeah
liberation?
yeah
So when souls are liberated, right, into the Brahma Jyoti, is that an
yeah.
eternal position? Because I thought it was, and if so,
No, it's
um,
not.
it's not.
It's
That's what
not.
I.
It's not, and that's what I read in the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta. In fact, I'll find you the verse right now, okay?
Yeah,
And the commentary. It just take me a second, okay?
yeah.
Um, I was surprised But it says, here it goes. And we read this. It says, the Lord's personal energy grants those liberated souls spiritual bodies of eternal knowledge and bliss, and with spiritual senses thus inquired, those souls worship Lord Hari. Purport: impersonalists who are jivan mukta, liberated even in this life, can be elevated to devotional service because they are still living in material bodies. What about those who have attained complete liberation and no longer have material bodies? Without a material body and senses, how is it possible to serve the Supreme Lord by devotional methods like hearing, chanting, worshiping, and offering prayers? To clear this doubt, the Bhakti Shastras here indicate that even the liberated souls who have merged into Brahman continue to exist as individual persons, even though they may be called mukta or siddha. So that's what it is. And I was surprised when I read that because it has a sense of eternality. But here it says no. And that's consistent with the conception that our relationship with Krishna is eternal.
Mark, why did the word, why did they translate use the word can? Because that is not a definite statement.
What's that?
The word that in what you just
because
read.
They can stay there, or they can be elevated from that position. You
so
asked
they can remain.
They can remain, but it's consistent with what Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Prabhupada taught, that bhakti is inherent within the soul, and therefore you can be elevated to your full potential if you haven't reached it, even if you go into the Brahmajyoti, and that's what it says. In fact, Gop Kumar will go there, actually. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Gail, any other questions? You have it now. I need help today.
No, I just want to follow up on this conversation. For clarification. So a person may wind up in the Brahmajyoti, but when you say that it's not eternal, it means that he doesn't necessarily have to be stuck there just because he landed there.
That's what it says here. Isn't that what it says? It says,
well, no, because,
impersonalists who are jivan muktis liberated in this life can be elevated to devotional service because they're still living in material bodies. What of those who have attained complete liberation and no longer have material bodies? And it says, to clear this doubt, the Bhakti Shastras indicate even liberated souls who have merged into Brahman.
Yeah. So when you just asked, are they there eternally? And you said no, but the answer is they can be there eternally. They don't have to be, but they can be there eternally.
Yeah, you could, right.
Okay, great. Right. That's what I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, they can be, but the point is they don't have to be.
Right.
Because we don't have this conception of eternal hell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else want to say hello?
Hi, Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Great to see you both.
Thanks so much for class.
We give thanks for you in our lives. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So much love. It's great to see you.
Hello, Maharaj.
Okay, I will. Hey, Denny, how you doing?
Oh, at work as usual, my friend.
Okay. In the
Oh, it's been
foundry, is it a foundry?
it's a paper mill.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's been 12
Thank.
days, 12 days straight before I get days off.
What's that? You work 12 straight days before you get one off?
12 straight days.
12 in a row?
We don't even get holidays off. Yeah,
Wait a second. After 12 days, how many days they give you off?
two.
That's ridiculous. That's slave labor. What's going on there?
I go to Uber and diving for a couple days, and then I come back.
Mm.
Wow. I didn't know they were even allowed to do that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Foundries, paper mills, all them places are allowed to do it. And I'm
Really?
the union president, and I can't even. Yeah.
What's that?
I said I'm the union president, and you can't even fight it. It's in our contract.
This is
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah.
Well, you
But
don't have a very strong union, by the way.
I know.
I
Yeah,
mean,
it was like that before I started here 28 years ago.
how many hours a day do you have to work?
8 hours a day. 8 hours a day. But then
Oh,
after 8 hours, it's time and a
okay.
half.
Anyway, just keep on chanting Hare Krishna. Maybe Krishna will give
Yeah,
you
you know
a
I
better
will.
situation.
Yeah, you
Okay.
know I will. I got me one of them little counters. I can't carry my beads to work, so I got one of them little counters. Keep track
Okay.
of everything. You know.
Okay.
There's
Thank
time,
you.
right?
Okay. Thanks for being on, Denny. Okay. Anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Yogamaya Shakti. Good to see you.
Yogamaya Shakti. Haribo.
Haribol. Thank you for class.
Are you speaking from the prison?
Not today. I'm about to take Dan's yoga class. But
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Anyway, I'm going to have to really look at this section. This section is not conducive to it's very dense. Let's see if we can get to something else which facilitates more. Okay. All right. Okay. Hi, Bo, Eudice dear. Nice to see
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Someone else
Thank you
wants to
very
say
much.
hello?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Thank you very much for the class. Yavat Sundari here.
Wow, that's nice. Okay, Haribo.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Okay, okay,
Hare
Haribo.
Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
Sam Kishore here. Thank you for class.
Hey, Shamkish, that's your little shop. Okay. Thank you. That's
Haribo.
nice. Haribo. Great. Good luck.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. I have to go now.
Hare Krishna, everyone.